Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into something quite fascinating, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Melania.
Yes, Melania Trump's memoir.
Her memoir.
Yeah.
And this is more than just, a peek behind the curtain of the White House,
Yeah.
right? This takes us through her whole life.
Her whole life, yeah.
From her childhood.
In Slovenia.
Yeah, in Slovenia.
Uh-huh.
All the way through modeling and, of course...
Being First Lady.
Yeah, First Lady of the United States.
And what I think is so interesting is that her story, especially the early part of her life, offers a really unique perspective on what it was like to live in a communist country.
Right, and it's not, what people may think or expect.
Exactly.
Especially when you learn about her family background.
Yes. Her father.
Victor Novs.
Yes. He was a car salesman.
He was successful.
Yeah, and he really had a passion for automobiles.
Yeah, so he wasn't just selling cars, he was...
sharing his love for them.
Yeah, and so, being exposed to that world at a young age, I mean, that's a world of luxury mechanics.
Absolutely.
Not typical of what you'd think of in a communist, country.
Right.
And then her mother, Malaysia.
Yes. She was a fashion designer, which, instilled in Melania this appreciation for style, for elegance.
Yeah, for beauty. I mean, it's surrounded by it.
Absolutely. So even though she was growing up in Slovenia, it wasn't necessarily the typical life behind the Iron Curtain that people might imagine.
And that upbringing, that strong work ethic, right, that her parents instilled in her.
Oh, absolutely.
You can really see how that shaped her resilience.
Her determination.
To face whatever challenges came.
Yeah, it really shines through in her story, as she faces the triumphs and the obstacles that she encounters throughout her life. And
in the book, she shares these wonderful anecdotes about her younger years.
So vivid.
That really paint a picture of
her personality.
Yeah, her personality. Like, did you know that her first concert?
I did hear about this. Elton John?
Was Elton John. The European Express Tour.
Wow.
At 14.
What a first concert to go to.
I can't.
That's incredible.
And she also talks about traveling with your sister, Ines, to Venice.
Yeah.
And they both loved fashion and music.
They did.
And it really gives you a sense of their bond.
Their connection.
Yeah, and her early interests,
Absolutely.
And speaking of those early interests, that love of design and architecture.
Yes. That's a great point.
It really kind of foreshadows.
Her work with the White House renovations?
Yeah, later on. Like years later.
It's
like there's this consistent thread of creativity.
And this eye for aesthetics that runs throughout her life.
Yeah. So at 17, she's discovered by a photographer.
At a fashion show.
But, and this is interesting, she doesn't just jump right into modeling full time.
Right.
It was more of a
side hustle.
Mm-hmm. She's focused on her education.
Which speaks to that, discipline that we were talking about. And that practical mindset that her parents instilled in her.
Like, it wasn't about the fame for her.
Exactly. It was about building a strong foundation for her future.
It was about her future. Yeah, exactly. So she's prioritizing her studies while kind of, testing the waters in modeling.
Dipping her toes in.
Yeah, and then things really start to change when she wins a modeling contest.
In Italy.
This victory opens so many doors for her.
Yeah, she gets to work with a prestigious agency.
In Paris.
So from architecture student to full-time model.
Wow.
And her career in Europe just takes off.
It blossoms,
yeah. It's like that classic story of talent meeting opportunity.
Yeah.
But in Melania's case, you can really see that she sees those opportunities.
Yeah.
She wasn't just, waiting for things to come to her. She was making them happen.
She was making things happen.
Yeah. And that ultimately leads her to,
to New York City.
The city of dreams.
And as there she meets Donald Trump.
Yeah, at a Fashion Week party.
Can you imagine the lights, the energy, the buzz?
It's almost like a movie.
I know, it's like a movie.
Yeah.
And this chance encounter, it would change everything for both of them.
It would, although
it wasn't,
love at first sight.
Love at first sight, like you might think. Right.
Yeah.
In fact, Melania initially kind of dismisses the whole encounter.
Because he was with another woman?
Yeah, he was with another woman. It wasn't this fairy tale start.
Right.
It was just a brief meeting.
Yeah.
They went their separate ways.
And then fate intervened.
Brought them back together.
Sparked a connection.
And that's when the whirlwind romance begins. Yeah. And of course, their very public, very extravagant wedding at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, in 2005.
2005, yes.
And she describes it all the stunning Dior wedding dress.
Oh, tell me about it.
The reception, the guests, the cake. A 7-tier, 200-pound cake.
It's a symbol of their lifestyle, right?
I mean, over the top. Over the top, yeah.
Extravagant, just like their wedding.
Absolutely.
But what's so impressive is that Melania didn't just become Donald Trump's wife.
No.
She had her own ambitions.
She did?
She launched her own jewelry and skincare lines.
That entrepreneurial spirit.
It really is inspiring.
It is.
That drive to create something of her own.
It challenges this image of her as just a passive figure, you know?
Exactly. She was not...
She had her own goals, her own desires.
She had her own path.
Yeah, to build her own brand.
In the book, it goes into the inspiration behind her jewelry collections.
Oh, yes, how she drew from her travel.
Her travels, her personal style.
Yes, to create pieces that really resonated with women.
Yeah. And her first QVC line, affordable, stylish jewelry.
It sold out in under an hour.
Under an hour.
Under an hour. Can you imagine?
Wow. That's a keen business sense.
Absolutely.
A knack for marketing.
And then comes the twist, right? The unexpected turn of events.
Yeah.
Donald Trump decides to run for president of the United States.
It changes everything, doesn't it?
It changes everything.
Throws them into the global spotlight.
A spotlight she never really sought out.
No, but one that she would learn to navigate.
In her own way.
In her own way.
When Donald Trump made that decision to run for president,
yeah,
it really thrust his whole family into this intense spotlight.
It did.
And their lives were never the same.
Never the same, no.
And Melania's reaction to his decision, I think, is really telling.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't this, gung-ho, let's conquer the world kind of response. It was more about, she talks about in the book, her immediate concern was Barron.
Their son, yeah.
Yeah, her son.
She was really focused on protecting him.
Yeah, protecting him from the chaos.
Yeah.
The scrutiny.
Yeah, that comes with a presidential campaign.
Which,
of course.
Any mother, I think, can relate to.
Absolutely.
It's that instinct to
protect your child.
Put your child first.
Yeah.
Above all else.
But she did eventually step into that role of supporting her husband's campaign.
She did.
And I think that's where her perspective on being first lady really started to take shape. It was clear that she wasn't going to just be a traditional first lady,
No.
Just attending events, smiling for the cameras.
Right. I mean, she was already a successwoman, businesswoman, a mother.
And those experiences really shaped her vision, I think, for a more modern, active role as First Lady.
And then, of course, there was the 2016 election.
Well, yeah.
Which, none of us can forget.
A time of intense division, so much heated rhetoric. And Melania really found herself in the middle of it all. Right in the crosshairs of the media.
Yeah.
The book talks about the controversy surrounding her speech at the Republican National Convention.
Right, where she was accused of plagiarizing Michelle Obama's speech.
Yeah, it was a huge media firestorm.
It was.
And, it really highlighted the intense scrutiny
that comes with being in the public eye.
Yeah, and it definitely impacted how Melania viewed the press.
Yeah.
It reinforced her belief that they were often more interested in sensationalism than the truth.
And let's not forget about the nude photos from her modeling career.
That were published.
Yeah, by the media.
It was a deliberate attempt to humiliate her.
Yeah, and to undermine
her husband's campaign.
Yeah, it really solidified this distrust
that
she had of the media.
Which continued throughout her time in the White House, yeah.
It did. It really did.
It raises some really important questions about privacy in the digital age. Especially for public figures.
Yeah.
Where's that line between the public's right to know
and
an individual's right to privacy? It's a tough one.
It is.
It really is.
And this was all happening, before Trump even won.
Imagine the pressure.
The emotional toll.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
But then he wins.
Yeah.
And she's officially thrust into this role.
First Lady?
First Lady of the United States.
A role that, she never really sought out.
No.
But one that she was determined to approach with
grace.
Grace, yeah.
And purpose. It wasn't an easy transition.
No.
Moving into the White House.
Right.
Creating a home for Barron.
Yeah.
Amidst all of that chaos.
It's a constant activity.
Yeah, and raising a child in the public eye, it's a lot to handle.
It is. It really is.
Especially for, a 10-year-old boy.
And she talks about how she really focused on Barron's well-being.
Yeah.
Tried to create that sense of normalcy.
Normalcy for him.
For him, yeah.
In such an extraordinary environment.
Yeah, really puts things into perspective.
It does.
Doesn't it?
But she also had her own vision for what she wanted to accomplish as First Lady.
She wasn't content to just,
be a figurehead.
Yeah, to just sit back and, attend events.
She wanted to make a difference.
She wanted to make a difference.
Yeah.
And one of the ways she did that was through the renovations.
Yes, the White House renovations.
At the White House.
She was so passionate about preservation.
And design.
Yeah, and her approach to the renovations was so meticulous.
It was. She wasn't just picking out paint colors.
No.
She was involved in every detail.
She was researching historical precedents.
Yeah, collaborating with experts.
Making sure that everything was done with respect for the history of the building.
Yeah, I mean, she even discovered, during the renovation of the family dining room.
Oh, yes.
A hidden piece of history. Like fragments of the original wallpaper from the 1800s.
Amazing, isn't it?
It's like finding a treasure.
It speaks to her deep appreciation for the historical significance of the White House.
It does, yeah. And her commitment to preserving it for future generations.
Absolutely.
It's these little details that make the book so engaging.
You really do.
But beyond the renovations, one of her most significant endeavors
was the launch of Be Best.
Yes, Be Best.
Yeah, her initiative,
Be Best.
Well-being, online safety, and opioid abuse.
These were issues that were,
deeply important to her.
Very important to her.
Yeah, and she was so actively involved in promoting these causes.
And the book shares, some really touching anecdotes.
It does.
That illustrate, her commitment.
Her commitment to these issues.
Yeah.
Like the story of the father who lost his son to suicide.
After being bullied online.
Yeah, relentlessly bullied online. It's heartbreaking.
It is. It's a reminder of the devastating impact that cyberbullying can have.
They can have, yeah.
And then there's her visit to Lily's place.
Oh, yes.
An infant recovery center.
In West Virginia.
In West Virginia, where she witnessed the effects of neonatal abstinence syndrome. Firsthand.
Yeah. These weren't just photo ops for her.
Right.
She was genuinely moved by the stories that she heard.
And by the people that she met.
It fueled her determination to use her platform.
To make a difference.
To raise awareness.
And drive change.
Yeah.
Now, Be Best, while it was well-intentioned,
of course,
it wasn't without its critics.
The media in particular?
Yeah. They really seemed to focus on the name.
They did.
Picking it apart.
Yeah.
Almost dismissing the initiative before it even really got started.
It's like they were looking for reasons to be cynical.
It seemed that way.
Yeah.
To find fault rather than focus on the potential for positive impact.
Yeah.
But Melania wasn't deterred by any of that negativity.
No, she wasn't.
She knew these were important issues.
Absolutely.
And she was determined to keep pushing forward.
No matter what.
And then there was her trip
to the
U.S.-Mexico border.
Yeah, the surprise trip.
The surprise trips.
Yeah. It was a bold move.
It was.
Yeah, she was deeply affected by the reports of families being separated at the border.
Yeah.
And she wanted to see it for herself.
She did.
Of course, we can't forget about the jacket.
Oh, the jacket.
The infamous, I really don't care, do you?
Jacket. It became,
a symbol.
A symbol of the trip, yeah.
Yeah, a lightning rod for controversy.
It was. It really was.
In the book, she clarifies what she meant by that.
She does.
She explains that it was directed at the media.
Yeah.
It was her way of saying, I'm
not going to be bullied.
Yeah, I'm not going to be bullied by your constant negativity.
Right.
By your attempts to undermine my work.
Yeah, it was a statement.
It was a bold statement.
It was. It really was.
And it showed a side of her that I think a lot of people hadn't seen before.
Right.
This willingness to push back.
Yeah, to assert her independence.
Yeah, it was a turning point.
It was.
In how she was perceived.
Yeah.
It challenged that image of her as quiet and submissive.
Right.
It showed that she was willing to use her platform.
Even her clothing.
Yeah, even her clothing to make a statement.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we shouldn't underestimate Melania Trump.
No, we shouldn't.
She's not afraid to speak her mind, even if it means stirring up some controversy.
And that independent streak really, comes through throughout her time as First Lady.
She was forging her own path.
Yeah, not following in anyone's footsteps.
No.
Her own path.
Yeah.
And speaking of, forging her own path, her international trips.
Oh, yes.
As First Lady were full of these memorable moments.
So many memorable moments.
From the handshake.
Oh, yeah.
With King Salman of Saudi Arabia.
Defying tradition.
Yeah, totally defying tradition.
Your visit to the Vatican?
To the Bambino Gesù Children's Hospital.
Yeah, where she met this young boy who was waiting for a heart transplant.
Yeah.
And then her encounter with the woman who lost her home during Hurricane Harvey.
It's all in there.
It's all in the book.
Melania's travels, they really revealed a different side to her.
They did.
Than what we saw, in the media.
Yeah, she wasn't just attending state dinners and posing for photos.
Right.
She was connecting with people from all walks of life.
She was.
Using her platform to highlight these important issues.
And these weren't just tourist stops for her.
No.
She was genuinely interested.
In learning.
In learning, yeah.
About different cultures, advocating for causes.
And using her platform to make a difference.
Absolutely. She talks about her work with school children in Africa.
Yeah.
The impact of visiting the Door of No Return in Ghana.
A powerful reminder of the legacy of slavery.
It is, yeah.
And her efforts to provide resources.
The communities in need.
Yeah, these were not just photo ops.
No.
They were opportunities for her to learn.
To share.
To share.
To leave a positive impact.
And it wasn't all, serious business.
Oh, no.
She even got nudged by a baby elephant.
At an orphanage?
At an orphanage in Kenya.
In Kenya, can you imagine?
It's those moments that really humanize her.
They do.
Amidst all the formality and protocol.
There were moments of genuine joy.
Yeah, of spontaneity.
Makes her more relatable.
Protest, yeah.
And then, of course, there's Life After the White House, a chapter that's still being written.
It is.
But she does give us a glimpse into her post-White House world, including the raid on Mar-a-Lago.
Which she describes as, really unsettling.
Yeah, especially for someone who grew up
under communist surveillance.
Yes, communist surveillance, yeah.
It's a stark contrast to the glamorous, jet-setting life that people associate with being First Lady.
It's a reminder that even those in the highest positions of power are not immune to those kinds of intrusions.
She also talks about the launch of her NFT platform.
Yes.
Which was, both surprising and entrepreneurial.
And her ongoing advocacy for foster children.
Which is clearly very close to her heart.
It is. Yeah. It's clear that she's not fading into the background.
No.
She's using her platform to pursue her interests.
Yeah.
And to continue to make a difference.
And then finally she offers this glimpse into her personal beliefs.
Her strong stance on individual liberty.
Yeah, she talks about, abortion rights.
And how she believes in a woman's right to choose.
Yeah.
Which, might surprise some people.
Yeah, it might.
Given,
she was First Lady.
During a Republican administration.
Right, but it's a reminder that Melania's views are complex.
Yeah.
Nuanced.
Yeah.
She doesn't fit neatly.
Into any box.
Into any box, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that, people are more than just their political affiliations.
Absolutely.
They have their own beliefs, their own experiences.
Their own stories.
That shape who they are.
And I think that's one of the most valuable takeaways from this book.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we should be careful about making assumptions about people based on their political affiliations.
Or their public persona.
Their public persona, exactly.
We need to remember that there's always more to the story
than what we see on the surface.
Exactly.
It's about understanding.
Rather than just judging.
And I think that's a good takeaway for all of us.
It is.
Not just when we're thinking about Melania Trump, but when we're engaging with anyone
whose story we don't fully know.
Exactly. Recognizing the complexity of human experience.
And Melania does a great job of that.
It does. It really does.
So as we kind of wrap up this part of our deep dive into Melania, I encourage everyone to read the book.
Read the book.
For yourself.
It's a fascinating read.
It is.
It really is.
And it offers this unique perspective on a woman who has lived a truly extraordinary life.
Whether you agree with her politics or not, Melania gives you a glimpse into the heart and mind
of this woman
who has navigated this incredible journey, defying expectations and leaving her mark on history.
It's a story worth exploring.
It is. It really is. It's just so easy to, get caught up in those headlines.
I know, right?
The sound bites.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to someone like Melania Trump.
Yeah, so polarizing.
So polarizing. I mean, she's often portrayed as either, this fashion icon or this silent figure.
Standing by her husband.
Yeah, just standing by her husband. Yeah. But Melania, her book really challenges those simple narratives.
It does.
It paints a much more nuanced portrait of her.
Yeah, it really does. It shows her as a mother.
Yes. Fiercely protective.
Of her son.
Of her son.
A businesswoman.
Yes.
With her own ambitions.
Yeah.
And a first lady who, maybe didn't always love the spotlight.
Right.
But still used it.
Yeah.
To advocate for the things that she believed in.
It's refreshing to see that kind of depth.
It is.
Especially in a world where, things are so often reduced to black and white.
Yeah, you're either this or you're that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Melania reminds us that there are all these shades of gray.
Right.
These complexities that we often overlook.
And I think that's such a valuable takeaway.
For all of us.
For all of us.
Yeah.
Not just when we're thinking about Melania Trump, but just in life.
Yeah, in general.
Yeah, when we're engaging with anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Whose story we don't fully know.
To be more open-minded.
Yeah, open-minded.
To listen to different perspectives. To resist that urge to just jump to conclusions.
I mean, it's so easy to do that these days.
I know, right?
Especially with social media,
Yeah. You see a headline, you form an opinion.
Yeah.
But Melania really encourages us to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
To think about those experiences.
To shape someone's worldview.
Yeah, and to recognize that complexity.
Of human nature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So on that note, I really want to encourage everyone listening. Pick up a copy of Melania.
Yeah, check it out for yourselves.
And really dive into her story.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
I think you will be.
Yeah, it's well written, it's engaging.
Yeah.
And it's surprisingly revealing.
It is, yeah.
It's a unique perspective.
Yeah, it really is.
On a woman who really navigated this extraordinary journey.
Yeah, defying expectations.
And leaving her mark on history.
Whether you agree with, her political views or not.
Right.
It's a look into the person behind the public figure.
And that's always worth exploring.
It is. It always is. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us.
Yeah.
That we all have our own stories to tell.
Absolutely.
Our own experiences that shape who we are. And sometimes those stories, they challenge our preconceived notions.
Yeah, they make us see things in a new light.
They do.
Well, on that note,
I think it's time to wrap up.
It is time to wrap up our deep dive.
Our deep dive.
And into Melania.
Yeah.
But, before we go.
Yeah.
What did you find most surprising?
About Melania Trump's story.
Or thought-provoking? Well, resonated with you.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, share your thoughts with us.
Yeah, until next time.
Happy reading.